What's up, guys? It's the Ginger.
And the Bear.
And guys, I'm so damn hyped for Jon Jones versus Reyes. This is going to be a hell of an event. But before we get into analyzing and telling you how
I've got to say this really quick. I got to get this off my chest. I have been supporting Dominick Reyes, right? And I feel like now that I've seen all the videos, now that I've seen everything, how they fight and whatnot, both opponents, I think Jon Jones is going to fuck up that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you, everybody.
So it's a very hard matchup. Jon Jones is considered one of the GOATs, or the candidates for the GOATs, for a reason. He's the only one of those guys in that category who's still super active in the UFC.
And he has very few chinks in his armor. And this whole video is about what Dominick Reyes' pathway to victory is against Jon Jones.
So this is not a prediction video. This is just what can Reyes do to win the fight?
Yeah.
What are the things he can take advantage of? What are his best opportunities?
And the things that he has. Like, he's not going to just all of a sudden, you know, have a completely different game.
So if you guys want to see our prediction, make sure you subscribe with those notifications on, because we will do it in a different video. But the things that Reyes can do, I think, are almost ironically things that also make him very vulnerable to what Jones likes to do. It's a very interesting matchup, right? Reyes is a tall, long southpaw. Jones is such a freak that his reach is enormous.
85-inch reach.
85-inch reach.
84.5, but 85.
It doesn't even matter at that point. It's a skyscraper, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what's kind of difficult for Reyes to do is get into engagements that favor him over engagements that favors Jones. And it's the classic question that Jones poses to every single opponent he fights. He's got such great strike variety. He doesn't have ticks. He doesn't often show the same strike more than once or twice in a fight. Yeah. He doesn't have specific patterns he really likes to fall back on. And he's great at a long distance. And he's one of the best short-range fighters in the game, which is incredibly unusual for a very tall fighter. So, that being said, this isn't a video where we suck off Jon Jones. I mean, it has been thus far, but that's not the main point.
So, I think the main key that Reyes has to get down is the fact that Jon Jones has two glaring weaknesses in my eyes. When Jon Jones is on the offensive, he's very good. If he's on the defense, he's okay. He's a normal fighter. He's not the GOAT when he's on the defense.
Even a good fighter,
right?
He's even a good fighter when he's on the defensive.
Yeah. I'm not saying that his defense is trash.
It's just you're looking at the relative strengths of each position that he could be in.
His defense is absolutely exploitable. And what are his defenses, right? It's to frame off the opponent and push that opponent away and get as far away so he can piecemeal him, basically.
Well, it's basically like get away. It's stereotypical tall man defense, and it's something that's incredibly hard not to learn because it works. If you literally have 10 inches on almost everybody that you're fighting,
you're gonna use it,
and you're taller. And think about this: usually in sparring in gyms, he's not sparring other light heavyweights. I bet he's sparring a lot of middleweights. I bet he's sparring a lot of welterweights.
Sure.
Like, it's just hard to find talented big bodies to go with people. So that means this technique in the gym where he just frames and backs up takes him out of trouble 90% of the times. It's kind of like DC learned to avoid punches and slip. It's a unconscious habit that it's incredibly difficult for a fighter to, even maybe potentially impossible, for a fighter to actually meaningfully change it, especially this far into their career. Now, what does this mean for Reyes? Because we have seen Jones have trouble with this, and I'm thinking the most recent example being Thiago Santos, who did do exactly what you said. He didn't show respect. He didn't show respect for Jones. He was willing to eat 2 shots to give a shot. And ironically, in eating those 2 shots, he actually put Jones on the defensive so he couldn't throw as much. So, like, round for round, he actually absorbed less, I think, than if he would have fought more conservative.
Like OSP, right?
Yeah.
Like very timid. He didn't really want to engage in anything, and that's where Jones excels in. And I feel like that's where the majority of his opponents are going to get destroyed, because you can't outrange this man. You can't outbox on the outside with this man.
You can't out-variety him.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't out-variety him, right?
Yeah.
So you think Reyes should basically come forward, right?
If Reyes is not coming forward, if Reyes is respecting Jon Jones's power, he's just going to get picked apart. And I think Reyes has not shown any capability of being able to withstand somebody that's pressuring him. I.e., look at the Uzumir fight, right? Like, he was just pressuring him, and Reyes should have fucking lost that fight, right? So I think that if Reyes does anything other than to just disrespect Jon Jones, fucking bite his fingers whenever he tries to eye poke him, he just needs to make it really, really messy.
And then his second defensive weakness is his mid-range boxing defense, right?
Exactly.
So Jones will exit clinches, he'll exit exchanges even in mid-range boxing range with his hands very low. He likes to throw relatively long combos, especially for an MMA fighter. And after he throws those combos, he will often like to admire his work. Yeah. That's another really hard habit to break, right? He'll get off an insane Tekken-like combo, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that was pretty sick," and just sort of look at the other fighter.
But why does he do that? Because he's trying to reset the fight.
Well,
I don't think it's to admire his work, but he's already on the inside. Now he has to back up.
Sometimes he doesn't even back up. Like, he'll throw combos and he'll be within punching range, mid-range, and he'll want to stay in punching range, but it's almost like he's finished the combo, and I'm joking, like, he's not actually, like, admiring his work.
Yeah.
But he's, like, thrown a combo, then he'll sort of stop and look at the other fighter, and it's only about a beat, 1 or 2 seconds, but it is enough that a good counter striker or someone who is just a good puncher in the pocket might be able to capitalize. Right. Now, what is Reyes? What are the strengths that he brings to the table?
He's got a left hand.
Those are the most, those are the things. And the other weakness that I think, and you disagree to a degree, is I think Jon Jones, ironically, is actually relatively susceptible to leg kicks, which is something we don't see a lot of people do because most people don't even want to exchange in leg kicking range with him. But Thiago Santos, until he literally blew out every single joint and ligament in both of his knees, was having a lot of success leg kicking against Jones.
And you know what's interesting? I bet you, since they're about the same height, they're both 6'4".
Yeah.
You know, their leg difference. Although
Reyes has a long torso, and Jones has a really like daddy long leg style legs. Yeah. So it's going to be difficult. Yeah. But I think that that's another exploitable weakness that Jones has. So those are the 3 things, and Alex doesn't agree with the leg kick one entirely.
I mean, I do understand that as long as he's keeping up the pressure, it's just so hard once you do a right, or I'm sorry, in Reyes' case, a left. You're a left kick.
Yeah.
It's basically you're giving up a split second of pressure because then you have to reset, go back into your stance, and I just think that would be a mistake. I think what he needs to do is just really just get into that mid-range boxing.
So what does Reyes do well? Boxing. Right? His boxing's really good.
He has a great high kick.
He's got a great left high kick. He actually is a good leg kicker, although he's kind of wild with it, and he'll often fall off of his own leg kicks, which is very, very dangerous. But he is one of the best boxers at 205, and I'd say like a much better boxer than Gustafsson, like a pure boxer.
I agree with that.
He throws really, really well. He has very defensively sound bladed stance. He does not hand fight, which is something that is usually bad for a southpaw, but against Jones, since Jones has such long ass arms and loves to control and reach for people's hands.
Yeah, you don't want to be hand fighting somebody like that.
And so that's great for this matchup. He also has a really interesting clinch defense, which you almost never see in MMA, where he likes to show a shell. He will literally use his shoulder and his elbow as his primary block and turn his body in order to avoid short range strikes. And that's how you saw him finish Cannonier. He shelled and came back to throw. So these specific problems, they're very difficult because they're difficult to implement, and I would say high risk to implement against a fighter like Jones. Because Jones, what is he good at? Clinch fighting. Excellent clinch fighter. Best clinch fighter I'd say ever. And because Reyes doesn't commit to actively clinch fighting like most MMA fighters do, that means he's uniquely vulnerable to being grabbed. He doesn't even try to play that game. He tries to shell and return back. Now, this gives him an opportunity because Jones does have a tendency to leave his face unprotected either by shoulders, elbows, hands, anything in that distance. So Reyes could walk the razor thin edge and be able to counter Jones from a short distance by not engaging the clinch game. Yeah. But if he's unable to find that opening, and especially because he doesn't, like Poirier against Holloway showed a variety of these different types of shells, thus far, Reyes has shown 1 shell. Yeah. And Jones's team is very good at game planning, but we'll be breaking down Jones's path to victory in a different video. This is what Reyes could do. Shell, counter Jones in the short range. And I think that is the most likely path for victory for Reyes.
Yeah.
And It's how does he get into that exchange that is the problem. And we actually completely disagree in how Reyes should get into this style of exchange. Oh, or left high kick, left straight. Jones also likes to throw wide punches. It's just very hard to exploit because he has elbows, punches, kicks from all different directions coming at you. And Reyes could also throw a counter left that gets inside because Jones does like to throw naked right hooks. And that can be a big problem if you have a really tight, precise southpaw counter striker. Think Conor McGregor versus like anybody.
Well, it's so hard to get a left hand, even a jab going as a southpaw. At least from what I've seen, especially a left hook. I'm sorry, a right hook. I mean, because you have your shoulder defending you, right? You have to be really precise. You have to have an opponent that's not going to have his hands up. You're going to have an opponent that makes mistakes. And Jon Jones rarely makes mistakes.
And the thing is, even his mistakes, they're arguably not mistakes. They're just, he's willing to sacrifice some defensive stability in order to put more offense on. And it's almost like his best defense, I do agree with you, is his offense. It's when guys are like, okay, well, what's coming? Is it a head kick? What is it? So how do you think, because we agree what Reyes brings to the table. How do you think that Reyes should game plan or fight in order to actually win? I know you've mentioned the pressure already.
I think that he has a really nice... there's been a couple of fights where he kind of dips down and explodes with his left hand straight. And I think that the straight left hand presents such an opening on Jones, because when your hand is all the way trying to post, right? If it's not posting against anything, it's not strong. Right? It's I mean, I'm sure Jon Jones's hands is strong enough, right? But
compared to a straight left coming from a southpaw, that's their main.
And also, it's very easy for somebody to bat that hand away for a split second and then capitalize on the southpaw, the straight left hand.
So basically, you think he should get Jones to move backwards in that posting defense?
And the only way he's going to be able to do that is with the pressure. If he doesn't have that pressure, and I know I sound like a meathead, like pressure, but there's so few options right now that I see that Reyes can win, because he's not going to beat him in the wrestling.
I don't think he's going to win a decision, to be
He's
honest.
not going to win a decision. He has to knock out Jones.
He's not a high output fighter.
No, he's not.
And Jones is a high output fighter, and that does rarely lends well to decision fighting, right?
Well, and I wonder if, because the Thiago Santos, right? Jones could have arguably finished him, right? But he stepped back off the gas. Now, I wonder if that was ring rust. I wonder if that is not being on supplements. I wonder if that's not,
just fear of Thiago's power, too. Because that man can put people... I think it's partially like Thiago presents many problems because he can basically end somebody with all four limbs, right? And he's kind of wild in what he will throw. Like you'll try to punch him and he won't throw a normal counter. He'll be like, all right, somersault capoeira, bitch, let's go.
So I definitely think the game plan is he has to be technical in the mid-range. He has to stay the mid-range. He doesn't need to get into close range. He doesn't need to stay at outrange, because he's going to get picked apart on both sides.
So can you kind of think almost like a Canelo-esque kind of pressure?
Exactly, like the Kovalev. Well, I mean, Canelo had the advantage on the mid-range and the inside.
But I mean more so like he's putting pressure, but he's not charging at him, literally. He's like putting pressure, trying to keep in boxing range, distance management, where he can hit Jones in that mid-range.
I don't want him to run after Jones going like this, just like running at him, right?
Forrest Griffin a la Anderson Silva.
That would be terrible.
But it's like conservative pressure, So this is where I disagree. I think he would be playing into Jones's kicking game, because I think, as much as I do agree with you, that if somebody is willing to just completely say, like, wild man, fuck it, Thiago Santos, and just sort of wade through Jones's kicks, then that's where Jones has trouble. But as much as Thiago Santos has pre-existing issues, Jones's kicking game is absolutely lethal. And I think if Reyes disregards that and just tries to walk through it,
for sure.
I think he's going to be really in it. I think he's going to be super vulnerable to Jones's kicking game, his oblique kicks, his low leg side kick. I think Jones will switch stances and just really batter that lead leg. And I think Jones will be willing to fight an incredibly conservative fight. And I think in doing that, Reyes would be, trapped on the outside, trying to come forward. And I think that would make him overcommit. and then I think Jones will be easily able to get him into his short range where he wants to fight.
Yeah, so the only problem with that is that when somebody does the leg kick, right, he gives up pressure, right? So that's one thing that I already talked about. But also, Jon Jones's arms are so long that he can eat one leg kick.
Oh, I haven't said I think Reyes should leg kick yet.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
But I think Reyes should fight the leg kick battle, but very conservatively. So I disagree with Alex. I think Reyes has shown that he's not a pressure fighter, and I don't think that he'd be able to institute more of a pressure fighter style game plan, especially like a conservative, measured one in a title fight. I think that he's at his core, I think, an in-out teasing, low-activity counter-striker.
Okay.
And I think that he would be best to do that, but extend the range slightly because he already likes leg kicking, and do this in-out counter-striking, fighting the leg kick range.
Okay.
Because Jones is susceptible to it, and I think Jones would actually get frustrated if Reyes was kind of doing almost like point karate, tapping his leg, tapping his leg, tapping his leg. And I think that attrition would start to wear on Jones.
Well, I wonder if he'll be able to get that reach advantage.
I think the reason I think it could work is because Jones has a very much more square Muay Thai style stance, which is great for his style. He's able to kick with both legs. He's able to do a lot of like linear snapping style kicks. But Reyes fights more long and sideways, so I think it could mitigate the leg reach differences that we've seen. And I think he needs to just tease Jones, and when Jones tries to step in either for the takedown, the knee tap that he likes to do, or to try to institute clinching range, I think that's when Reyes has to snipe him with the left. Both of these strategies we're proposing, though, are incredibly difficult. But I think that those two strategies, they're very hard. Like, both of the things we're saying are incredibly difficult to actually implement, and that's why Jones is so damn hard to figure out how to fight, honestly.
Yeah.
But that's what Reyes has to do
to achieve victory. And listen, we were gonna do the hands on or the gloves on stuff, but there was just so much like that we had to talk about. There wasn't like a really clear thing.
And honestly, it's hard to even demonstrate the engagements because Jones is such a freak. Like, we can't demonstrate what his techniques are without. Like, you guys, if I try to show you the knee tap that Jones shoots, then it'll look stupid because I can't grab someone from across the octagon.
Right,
so
right.
This is just such a weird matchup of physical anomalies that we thought it would just be easier to express talking.
But that being said, we're going to break down Jones right now, and then we're going to...
So that'll be out tomorrow, so subscribe with those notifications on, guys, and then we'll actually give you the prediction for what we think is really going to go down in the fight.
All right, guys. Take care.
Phew. Cool. Fuck.